En esta ocasión entrevistamos a Nicole Grindle y Brad Bird, productora y director de Los Increíbles 2.
It's time to make some wrong things right. Help me bring supers back into the sunlight. We need to change people's perceptions about superheroes, and Elastigirl is our best plan.
Better than me?
One of the things that I love the most about Incredibles are the villains. I think I really empathize with the things they've done. So, do you have like a recipe to make a great villain? What does a great villain has to have in order to be this good?
If I said I had a recipe, it would imply that I know what I'm doing. And I don't really. I just bumble around a lot and say, this feels good, this feels right. I think generally my favorite movies that have villains in them have villains that you connect with and empathize with, even if you realize that what they're doing is wrong. I think that I like to have villains that are smart. My favorite villains are smart. And so smart and relatable, I think, are...
A little sympathetic.
A little sympathetic, yeah. I mean, even Darth Vader is sympathetic, ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of empathize with the things they're fighting against.
And why they became villains in the first place.
Yeah, and it's you know, there's a little bit of tragedy in there somewhere, you know? So, I mean, I think that's the case of in life, that even among just horrible people, you kind of imagine that at some point they were babies and they hadn't done anything wrong, and what led them to that. So that's, I think, my favorite villains or maybe come from there.
I think that selfishness is one of the greatest villains and threats that we have right now in the world.
Definitely.
So if you have to say what's the biggest villain or threat in this world right now, what kind of superhero do we need? Because what do you think would be?
I think somebody who can speak with clarity and shine a light on villainy in its many shapes. I think vanity is one. Ego can be a very crippling thing. Narcissism, assuming you know more than you know. Being humble, I think, is important. So, you know, the best heroes tend to have those good qualities, even if they're flawed.
Empathy. I think empathy is really important. That's what a superhero needs.
Well, of course, Jack is the greatest character in the world right now. Everyone loves it. And I think it's very intelligent written and made it and everything, because he's a baby. And because he's a baby, you give him sugar, now he's a monster, and suddenly you feel like it multiplies. He's a baby. The superpowers are like the superpowers of a baby. So can you tell us about a little bit of how you created Jack and how you got animated and everything, the process of...
Well, my middle son, I have 3 sons. My middle son is named Jack, and he was a baby when I came up with this idea. And we called him Jack. And he was sturdily built and kind of went around the house. And there's a little bit of him and a little bit of my youngest son, Nick, who when he was a baby, every time I put him to bed, he would pop back up again. And I used to call him the Pop-Tart because you know what a Pop-Tart is? You put it in the toaster and it goes, you know, and I would put him into bed and he would come up. And he was also always in a great mood, except when he wasn't. Every once in a while, and when he wasn't in a great mood, he was in a terrible mood. But most of the time, he just thought everything was fun and a blast. And so it's a little bit, and then my son Michael does the voice, in the English version anyway, of Tony Ridinger in both Incredibles movies. So my boys are kind of represented in one way or another. And I think that what was on my mind is that babies are driven by very simple things. But what would happen if a baby was sort of a Swiss Army knife of powers, but wasn't interested in anything more than what a regular baby is in? That looks cool. I want to put that in my mouth. That tastes terrible. I hate that. Oh, that's cool. I like that. You know, babies aren't complicated in what they're thinking, but what they could be is complicated.
It's amazing. I mean, Jack, it's gonna be like a boom in everyone. Everyone loves it. Everyone's talking about how great he is.
Well, that's one thing that I knew that I had from the first film was like a present that I hadn't opened yet, because the audience knows at the very end of the first film that he has multiple powers, but the family does not. And I knew that I would have that for the next movie. So that was I felt like I had one, a winning card in my back pocket. An ace, yes.
Was this your original pitch from like years ago?
Pitch for Incredibles 2? Yeah, the idea that Helen would get the assignment rather than Bob was the first idea that I had for this. And I had it when we were promoting the first film. But it wasn't like this was a thing that was in the news and I thought, well, I must make a movie out of this. I just thought, well, she's a strong woman. Bob always assumes that he's the first choice for any assignment. And wouldn't it be funny and cool if she was the first choice? And he's the guy that wants to get on the field and play, and then he has to watch the offer go to his wife, you know. I thought it would just be funny. It would bring something out of him. And it would be fun to see Helen. We already know that she is a very efficient and good superhero. What would it be if the mission were hers, you know?
It's also fun that Bob thinks staying at home with the kids is easy.
Which he finds out is not.
Even if you're a superhero, being a parent is not easy.
No, and it'll bring some superheroes to their knees. Yeah.
The Screen Slater interrupts this program for an important announcement.
Suit up. It might get weird.
I'll be there ASAP.
Where you going ASAP? You better be back ASAP.